What's up guys, Spin Firearms here, and today we're going to be comparing two awesome 380 options out there. I get it, not everybody wants a 380. A lot of people want 9mm, but there are a lot of positives to owning a 380, especially carrying a 380. And we're going to get into all that. But before we get started, hit the like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe. I got the Girsan a little while ago, but I just want to make sure I got a decent round count through it prior to making this video. Let's get started. Right here you see the Glock 28. I've had the Glock 28 for a little bit longer than the Girsan. I've actually had it for a while. Now the Glock 28 has been around, or it's actually been created for almost 30 years now. But it just made its way to America about a year ago. And the reason for that is there's a point system when importing firearms from overseas. And for whatever reason, they never made it in their Georgia or their Smyrna, Georgia plant. But anyways, the Glock 28 is a 10+1 setup of 380. If you want to go back and learn about the issues I had with mine at first, you can go ahead. But all those issues have seemed to vanish. Now, obviously, this was an extremely unreliable handgun at first, and it was a huge disappointment from Glock for me. That's the thing that people forget. When I talk down on Glock, they don't mention it. But when I talk down on anything other than Glock, they go absolutely crazy. But I obviously talk down on Glock when they need to be talked down on. This firearm, though, has tons of benefits, and to me, that outweighs a lot of the negatives when it comes to 380. And a big thing about carrying a 380 is making sure you're carrying the right defensive ammo, which we will touch on. I will show you the ammo that I carry and that I would carry in both of these handguns. Anyways, Glock 28, 10+1 setup. But now you can use the Glock 25 mags, which would come to about here, and it would give you a 15+1 setup of 380. Now the Glock 25 is Glock 19 size. I believe it has a rail, and it is a larger handgun. For me, that sort of gets rid of my use for something that size. I would just use my Glock 19 at that point because it's a 9mm and the same round count. But there are also a lot of people out there that need 380. Obviously, this has no rail. It's not optics ready. Comes with terrible sights right out of the box. Very little texturing, but this thing rips. You can let this thing go so fast, 10+1, 11 rounds. And that's the thing. If your shots are going to be on target and they're going to be fast and they're going to be one after another, it doesn't matter what caliber it is. 78% of the time, all in self-defense, the person just has to have a firearm and say they have it on them or draw it. The other 22% of the time, that's when rounds are let off. But most of the time, you do not even have to let a round go. But in that 22% of the time, if you let this thing go fast with no recoil, you will be just fine. This is one of the fastest shooting handguns I own, especially for its size. The Glock 26 and 9mm is super fast and accurate. But this being in 380, the same exact size, the same exact weight, it is absolutely flawless. Now, one thing I will say about 380 is most people carry it if they have bad hands. I carried a 380 for about a year after my double wrist surgery. I carried a Smith & Wesson EZ simply because my hands hurt every day. They were terrible, and I didn't want to ruin my hands further by shooting a larger caliber. So I carried a 380, trained with the 380, and I felt just fine. Everything boils down to your training. Good defensive ammo, good holster, stuff like that. Other than that, there's so many great handguns that are out there. I know a lot of people with Glock 28s that run flawlessly. Mine, I just had a lemon, but it's been fixed, and it's been flawless. Now, honestly, if I were to carry this is exactly how I would have it. I'd probably get some grips on it or get it stippled. That's all I need. 10+1, a backup mag, maybe even the Glock 25 15-round mag, and we are good to go. You can always throw an X grip on the Glock 25 mag as well to fill that void, which feels really good to people, while still having a relatively short barrel. But even a 3.4-inch or 3.5-inch barrel with 380 is going to be solid. This right here is the Girsan MC14. Now, this is a Beretta Cheetah clone. This thing right here is 13+1 of 380 ACP. Really nice, good quality, solid mags. This thing is a beast. This thing is flat as can be. I thought the Glock 28 was the flattest shooting 380. This is a little flatter shooting. Has a better trigger. It's about even in speed, simply because of how that trigger is versus I'm used to a Glock trigger. But the average person is probably going to shoot this Girsan better. But there is no recoil. It is flat as can be. Now, like I said, 13+1. As you can see right here, I'll show you. Instead of having a Browning tilt barrel, it's just straight forward. See that? Now, for me, I've had one malfunction through about 450 rounds, and it was on the second mag. I want to say second or third mag. I'd have to ask my buddy Dan, but I was shooting it. I had one failure to feed. It was MagTech ammo, Do with that what you want. Since then, not a single issue. Now, what I love about this handgun is the way it feels. Now, obviously, it's a little bit bigger than the Glock 28, which I'll show you. That's beaver tail to beaver tail. That's slide to slide. Now, let's check this out. 10 plus 1 on the right, 13 plus 1 on the left. The Glock 26, 27, 33, 39, and 28 are all pretty hard to beat when it comes to capacity when comparing them to other firearms of their size. But you can see where the Girsan gets the extra 3 rounds for. Now, that grip does seem a little wide, but man, does it feel good. And man, does that grip really help with drawing. That's a big difference between shorter handguns and larger frame handguns, is drawing. If you don't practice with a smaller handgun, you are going to struggle in times of need. If you practice, though, you can get good with it. A handgun like this might require a little less practice. You should still be practicing every day, but it might require a little bit less. Super ergonomic, perfectly placed and angled base plate to lock that hands in there. Now, my fingers are honestly crammed in there, but it feels good. I feel confident. I feel like my hand's locked in there, right? Now, as far as everything else go, everything functions on this. You have a safety right here. Feels good. Clicks in, clicks out. Really nice. So you can run it cocked and locked. Sights, just 3-dot sights, but they're actually pretty nice. Nicer than the plastic crappy Glock sights. The barrel, barely any wear on it. I did have it lubricated a little more, but as you can see, it's starting to come off a little bit. Rear serrations, no forward serrations. Not optics ready, but I think you can have it milled and you can make this optics ready if you want. But just the way it looks is classic. It looks beautiful, but it feels even better in the hand. Now, obviously, you can change out the grips, I believe, but these are perfect as is. Plus, they look super cool with that Girsan logo on them. Absolutely love this thing. Now, let's go check out the trigger. I mean, look at that. Super clean, super crisp. Very nice. Now, double action. Resets long. It's a double action trigger. If I was going to run this, I would run it cocked and locked and be good to go. See that? It's really fast, really nice. If you have that cocked on draw, I mean, it's going to be easy. I don't prefer safeties, but in a case like this with such a smooth, clean, probably about a 4-pound trigger, maybe 4.5 pounds, 4, but very smooth, very clean, very little over travel, really nice trigger. That combined with being in 380, having an aluminum framed, I believe it is, not sure what metal this is, it's just as smooth as can be. It's just one of the smoothest handguns. It looks cool, looks classic, looks like the handguns you see in movies all the time when they used to use the cheetahs. And man, is this a nice handgun. This is my first Girsan, first Beretta clone, but I'm very impressed, and I really like this thing. Now, trigger on the Glock 28, it's a Glock trigger. Spongy, heavier. Yeah, I would say that's about a 4-pound trigger. If this is a 5.5, 6-pound trigger, for some reason my 28's a little spongier than the average Glock trigger. I mean, look at creak. Reset. Real short reset. Really nice. Both these handguns are great. As long as you test them, make sure they're reliable, you will have no problem. Now let's talk about ammo. This is what I carry. Underwood Extreme Defenders. Doesn't matter if it's the copper version. This is the platinum version. I think they just did that to make the ammo last longer, the copper on there, so you don't get corrosion or anything weird from carrying with moisture or anything. But solid projectiles out of 380s, especially 380s with longer barrels. These have, I think that's like a 4-inch barrel even right here. And you're sitting at 3.5, 3.4 with the Glock 28. So longer barrels than like an LCP or a Diamondback or a Bodyguard. But this is what you want. Hollow points struggle to open up and expand in 380s, especially short barrels. But if you get a solid projectile that uses fluid dispersion, it doesn't lose any weight the whole time it's traveling. And it uses fluid dispersion instead of expansion, so it'll always work. These are barrier blind rounds. They're super light. They're fast. This is the way to go. These are Underwood Extreme Defenders. They're absolutely awesome for everyday carry with a 380. Now, if I can only pick one between these two, you know I love Glock, but I'm just being real with you guys. This Girsan, not only the way it looks, but it just feels so good in the hand. It's going to be a little harder to carry, a little harder to conceal, a little bit heavier, but man, is it nice. It is just classic, clean, smooth, really, really nice. Absolutely love this thing. Let me know in the comments which one you would choose. Thanks for watching, guys.